right, I have 5:30. Are we ready?
Yep, and make sure you have that mic closer to your mouth too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amy, would you do roll call, please?
Absolutely. Commissioner Dibdahl? Here. Commissioner Cronin?
Here.
Commissioner Wire? Commissioner Shaw?
Here.
Mr. Mayor Lindsay?
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have before you the consent calendar. Is there anything anyone wants to discuss on the consent calendar? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Are you on the consent?
Yeah.
We discuss item number 7.
Yes. So on item number 7 is set date of public hearing, petition of Vacation Street, North Lee Avenue north of 9th Street. We're setting the hearing date for January 6th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m.
Do we have any more details on what?
What's going to be happening? Yes, we do.
I would say if you want to discuss it, just make a motion to remove from consent.
Yes.
And then the mayor can put it under
Yep.
where he wants.
All right, so you're going to move it from consent down to discussion?
Yes, please.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, with that, number 7, move down for discussion. Do we have anything else on the consent calendar? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
To approve as amended?
Motion to approve the consent calendar as amended.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, then we're going to move into unfinished business. Second reading of ordinance number 1675, amending the regulations pertaining to peddlers and hawkers. And Jameson, I'll ask you to address that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There have been no changes from the first reading. This ordinance adjusts our current ordinance regulations so that we no longer have to have any permitting for peddler or hawker permits. There's been recent court cases that may prove problematic for these types of activities, and staff are supportive of removing it, just one less regulation that we have to follow. So again, no changes from first reading, and staff recommend approval.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item number 13.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 14, second reading of ordinance number 1676, amending Mid-Continent Communications, Cable Communications Franchise Ordinance number 1592. And again, Jameson, you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll speak to items 14 and 15 at the same time here. They're very similar. So in general, franchise ordinances are agreements that we have with different providers, typically utility providers, to operate within our right-of-way. And in this case, these two ordinances are related to two telecommunications companies, Mid-Continent Communications and Clarity Telecom, also known as Blue Peak. And these two ordinances are extending existing ordinances that have been passed in previous years. Changes or adjustments made to those are that there is added in a requirement by the telecommunications to relocate lines within 30 days of requests from the city. There's also removing of a section that requires the telecommunications to advertise rates through mailing out in the paper to the city. Now they can just post it on their website and we can view it that way. And then finally, it removes language related to free service to schools and city and replaces with languages for free service to city. And this is something that the school is aware of as well, and that the relevant telecommunications company has worked through with them. So Again, no changes from first reading on either of these ordinances, and staff recommend approval.
Okay. Questions or comments? Okay, on number 14, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 14.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under item number 15, do we have any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 15, the second reading of ordinance 1677.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under new business, we will refer to item number 7, set date of public hearing, petition for the vacation of the street North Lee Avenue, north of 9th Street, setting the hearing date for January 6, 2025 at 5:30 PM. And questions or comments at this point? Discussion.
I'm just looking at discussion, what we're looking or what's being asked on.
Yeah, I can give a quick overview. So this item for today is just setting the hearing for the next meeting, but we can certainly have some preliminary discussion here. This is a right-of-way that is north of 9th Street. It is not built into a street or anything, so if you drive by, you won't even notice it's there. It is a grassy area with some trees. Dakota State University is the property owner that has engaged with the city first on the request to vacate this right-of-way. They did work with 2 other of the property owners that are affected, and all 3 property owners signed the request for vacation of the right-of-way. So our engineering department works with those groups to work through that request. They post a notice in the paper, and then we set a public hearing, and that hearing is set for January 6th at 5:30. So that's a quick overview on it.
And Dennis Miller has stopped in and visited with me and gone over the plans and that, for Dakota State's future desires and that for not necessarily, developing anything from directly at 9th Street north halfway, but taking out trees and that and designing an additional parking lot in the lower part, north of the current parking lot that's located there. So Dennis has reviewed the plans and that with me. He's also discussed it with Ryan, and his main concern in that was that making sure that he didn't have issues in that dealing with any parking for the apartments that he has there. And so he's the only one at this point in time that has really come in and asked questions and that, of me anyway. Ryan, do you have any more to add? And Ryan, if you wouldn't mind pushing the little button.
Yeah, maybe I'll just add that when they petition to vacate that right-of-way, it has to be signed by all owners of the property abutting that. So Mr. Miller and any other property owners along there would be, well informed on what that vacation would mean for them.
Other questions at this point in time? If not, do we have a motion to set the date of public hearing for the petition for vacation of the street North Lee Avenue, north of 9th Street, for January 6, 2025 at 5:30 PM?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under new business, ordinance number 1678, supplemental appropriations for 2024. Jameson or Amy, who would like to address this one?
I'll start this one. So the next 2 items on the agenda are 16 and 17, and so I wanted to give kind of some education or background on what these items are for the commission and the public. So with contingency transfer and supplemental appropriations ordinances, these are 2 actions that municipalities can and often do take each year to make sure that the budget they approved, sometimes 15 months in advance of it, before that, matches what the expenditures that have been made for that year. With a supplemental appropriations ordinance, this occurs when there have been large changes to the budget. Sometimes things are unforeseen that come up, and that requires 2 readings, just like any other ordinance, and it is essentially passing a new budget or an adjustment to the budget that you passed in the previous year. With contingency transfers, this simply moves money from one fund to another. So each budget that is passed by the city each year has a line or a fund for contingencies. These are items that are unexpected or overages that occur in certain line items. And so with the contingency transfer, that's a resolution, that's a one-time hearing and an approval to move money from a contingency fund to a different fund. So the budget in total doesn't get moved in that way. In particular, it's important to note that this doesn't mean that the city's budget as a whole has gone over or anything like that. When we have line items that, or funds that come in under budget, we have no action that's taken. We pat ourselves in the back. Our line items have been under budget. It's for the line items or funds that go over budget that we have to have some action to recognize that we are looking to expend, to appropriate more funds than was originally approved. So generally, each year when you look at these changes, if you look at the total budget as a whole, it doesn't mean that the budget has gone up. It just means that certain items in that budget has gone over what was originally expected. With that, I'll move into the specifics of the appropriations ordinance. So this is the first reading on ordinance 1678. There's a couple changes that we're looking at moving to this. One is allocating more money to highways and streets in the amount of about $328,000. And then the second is another $2.1 million to City Hall. This does not mean that City Hall came in $2.1 million over budget. In fact, it came in about $30,000 under budget from what was expected. When we approved the 2024 budget, we were thinking that the City Hall project would be split over 3 fiscal years, being 23, 24, and 25. And so we were expecting some funds to be expended in 2025, and in actuality, the project was able to get finished sooner, and so those funds were needed in 24 rather than 25. So the project, again, has come in, I'll call it on budget, because $30,000 in a $10 million project is pretty close to on budget, but if anything, it's a little under budget. And so this, again, is an ordinance that adjusts our budget that was approved, I'm going to say 15 months ago, to be in line with what actually is needed to be appropriated for the fiscal year 2024. Amy, anything to add?
That sums it up.
Okay. I guess I should add on the highway and streets, the big change there is the remodel on the highway shop building, the renovation that occurred this year. That one did come in over budget, but we are looking forward to having that building be something that can be used for another 50 years without having to build anything new. We were able to renovate that and keep the existing building. I'll stand by for any questions.
Questions or comments?
So the entire 328,000 is what we went over on that project?
No, the budget was actually not built out correctly in 2024, and it was missing a piece for electrical components. And so the actual overage on that building was what you will see in the reserves replacement of $78,002.67. Those were the change orders.
Great question.
Oh, yeah.
Other questions? Okay, if no other questions in that, do we have a motion? And again, this is for first reading of ordinance number 1678.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 1678, first reading supplemental appropriations for 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in
I
favor,
got a
signify by
question.
saying aye.
Sorry, I got a
Yes,
question.
nope, very good.
So does this need to have the second reading done prior to the end of the year?
No, we can complete the second reading in 2025. That's what we've done a couple times in previous years. I think ideally, we'd like to get it wrapped up in the same year, but it is acceptable to have in the next year as well.
Sorry.
No, good question as well.
Any other questions? Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then on resolution number 2024-44, contingency fund transfer for 2024. Any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-44, contingency transfer 24.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, number 18, 19, 20, and 21, and that, I'm going to ask Jameson to address those.
Yeah, the agenda lists public hearing and then resolutions for our two sidewalk projects for 2025. It should be to set the hearing for next week is when that will occur, and then all four of these items will be on, not next week, next meeting. Yep, all four of these items will be on the next meeting. So today, the action we'd be looking for would be to acknowledge the resolutions and to set the hearing dates for January 6th. I'll note, I think I overheard we have a couple people in the audience interested in the sidewalk projects. We're always happy to have people at our meetings, and so I encourage you to attend the next meeting as well. But if you have questions and you want to reach out to engineering department in particular, stop in their office, give them a call. Ryan and his staff are very happy to walk through any questions you might have on our sidewalk projects. So for the first one here is sidewalk repair improvement, 2025. So this is the first step of many that we take before we proceed with sidewalk improvements in each year of our community. And this one is to repair existing sidewalks in Madison. Each year, our engineering staff takes 1/7 of the town. And so every 7 years, the entire town gets looked at for existing sidewalks to make sure that they are repaired and they're in good shape and there aren't cracks or elevation changes that are outside of what is acceptable.
Okay, so the first one is public hearing, number 18, public hearing for approval of Resolution 2024-44, declaring a necessity for the sidewalk repair improvement for 2025. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And number 19 will be approve resolutions 2024-42, declare necessity for sidewalk repair improvements 2025, and set a public hearing date for January 6th of 2025.
And again, we're not approving the resolution tonight, we're just acknowledging it, and
Yes.
it'll be at the hearing
And
next meeting.
setting the hearing date.
So
Do-
moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then on number 20, that too is also, setting the date of the public hearing for resolution number 2024-43, declare a necessity for sidewalk improvements 2025. And that would be setting the hearing date for January 6th of 2025.
And then this project is the project for new installation of sidewalks. These are streets or areas of town that do not currently have sidewalks, and the sidewalk committee makes recommendation to extend our sidewalk system to these areas next.
Questions or comments?
Remind me how much we do a year? Is it,
Ryan?
It varies. We typically like to keep that square footage about the same, but we're getting to the point now where we're kind of taking spots and doing a lot of infill. So this is a little bit smaller project than what we typically do.
okay.
It's a less sidewalk than normal because these are more challenging areas of town, so the costs are higher than they have been in the past.
Sure.
So it's still this, I think what Ryan's trying to say is we try to keep the costs the same each year. Is that correct, Ryan?
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
The biggest one was Union and to 81 on Sixth Street, is it?
Yep. So it'd be both sides of Sixth Street.
Other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion to set the hearing date for January 6th, 2025 at 5:30 PM?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then number 21 is to approve the resolution 2024-43, declaring the necessity for sidewalk improvements 2025. And again, we set the hearing date already for that. So do we have a motion to approve the resolution showing the necessity?
Acknowledge resolution, just to be clear, yeah.
Acknowledging.
So
Thank you.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 22, Resolution number 2024-45, authorize the finance officer to sign legal documents on behalf of the city for the USDA grants and loans. And Jameson, you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This adds the finance officer as a signatory on some USDA projects. The two projects in particular would be applying for rural development funding on our Egan Avenue reconstruction. We've already started working towards that and have received action to apply for that. And then we also anticipate in the future applying for funding related to our restricted use site, which would come through USDA. So this allows the finance officer to sign certain documents related to USDA projects.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the finance officer to sign legal documents on behalf of the city of Madison for USDA grants and loans.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 23, approve voluntary extension agreement with the South Dakota Bureau of Human Resources and Administration. And Jameson, I'll ask you to address that.
Currently, the city has a wheeling agreement with Dakota State University where we wheel Western Area Power Authority, WAPA power to DSU. So the city has a WAPA allocation, Dakota State has WAPA allocation, but we have the distribution network and the transmission network to get that power to DSU. So this is a 5-year agreement. It expires at the end of the year. Speaking with our electrical consultant, DGR, they recommended that we pursue a 1-year extension and then take some time over this next year to review the current agreement and negotiate what a new 5-year agreement would look like. It sounds like this is something that has been done in the past as well when these agreements have come up, just to give us a little more time to finalize what those should look like. Both Dakota State and the state is comfortable with this, and so this is an extension agreement that allows us to extend the current terms up to 1 year. I'll note that, the agreement is technically with the state, the South Dakota Bureau of Human Resources and Administration, but ultimately we are looking at an agreement with DSU for the wheeling power.
Questions or comments?
Jameson, I'll be recusing myself from this item.
Okay. Amy notes that. Any other questions or comments?
I guess just a comment, I'd like to review that contract. I know we're kind of up against the wall here. But does this have to be, I would imagine we'd have to have this completed in.
Yes, and this is a up to 1 year extension, so we could work with DSU and have this approved in a couple months, or it could be up to 12 months. But ultimately, just gives us that extra leeway and flexibility to continue with the existing terms of the agreement, knowing that the next agreement can be negotiated for another 5 years.
Okay. Other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the voluntary extension agreement with South Dakota Bureau of Human Resources and Administration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 24, approve the proposed Federal Highway Administration urban boundary map for the city of Madison. And again, Jameson, you want to address that?
Every 10 years, the Federal Highway Administration looks at the urban boundaries of communities across the nation, and so we are required to review and update our boundaries and approve the new map. Staff have reviewed the map, made sure it's adjusted accordingly to reflect our new boundaries and any other changes, and recommend approval.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the proposed Federal Highway Administration urban boundary map for Madison.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 25, consider the award of bid number 966, furnishing electrical materials. And Jameson, would you address this one?
This is the purchase of electrical materials needed for our 2025 electric conversion project. So we're converting some of our overhead transmission lines to underground, and we received 5 bidders. The bids were evaluated by DGR. There were 4 different components to the bid. On bids numbers 1, the pad mount switchgear, 3, HDPE conduit, and 4, 600-volt secondary power cable. The low bidder was Irby Utilities. And on number 2, which is 15 kV primary power cable, the low bidder was Border States Electric. The total cost of all of the bids put together was $454,000 and change, and that is a positive variance from our engineer's estimate of $598,000. And so staff recommend awarding bid to these low bidders.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve item number 25.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 26, consider award of bid number 967 for chemicals. And again, I'll ask Jameson to address this.
There are a number of chemicals that we purchase each year, and so we bid those out and have those purchases for the next year. So for 2025, our chemical bids, there are 6 different schedules, A through F. In the bid packet, the tabulation shows what those bid amounts were this year, and it also shows bid amounts historically back to 2019, so you can see how those numbers have changed. Compared to last year, the only change in the bid amount was in Schedule A for lime, and that actually has been a reduction, $250 per unit instead of $315.50. The other schedules are the same. And then I'll note Schedule C is for carbon dioxide. We do bid that out every year as required, but we never receive any bids. We haven't since at least 2019, and so that allows staff to purchase and from whatever vendor we can find the best pricing from. So we recommend awarding to the low bidders, which would be Pete Lean and Sons for Schedule A lime, and then Schedules B, D, E, and F would all be through Hawkins Incorporated.
Questions or comments? Okay. If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item 26.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 27, establish the 2025 election date in conjunction with the Madison Central School District of April 8th, 2025. Jameson, you want to add anything more to that?
That's pretty straightforward. That is the typical date for our annual election, and we do it in conjunction with the school district so long as both entities have a competitive election that year.
Okay. Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item number 27.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 28, December finance updates. And Jameson, I'll let you and Amy have the floor on this one.
Turn it over to Amy.
A couple notes, the finance office will be closed on December 23rd for the holidays. The 2023 audit is confirmed for January 6th.
That's great news.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Cash on hand, general cash, 11.4 million. Investments, 5.84 million. Checking, 3.8 million. Money market, 1.15 million. Other, 251,000. Restricted cash, 621,000. Our general revenue guidelines. Expenditure guidelines. By fund for November.
Quick question.
Sure.
So, being as we are completed early with City Hall, are we done then? Or do we have additional bills coming in 25?
We will have a final bill for retainage and a few miscellaneous things in the project, but the vast majority of the costs are behind us.
And we have one bill left on furnishings, so. by fund year-to-date. Our sales tax for the month of November down 5.18%. However, we're still up overall for the year-to-date by 6.18%.
Jamison, did you happen to take a look at, peers at all on that, or have a whole lot of time with the state, what we're seeing as a whole?
I haven't lately, no. And as far as whether others are seeing
Yes,
positive or
similar
negatives,
trends.
not this month, I haven't, no. The numbers just came out today.
That's a wrap.
And then just for those in the audience and that are seeing it on the screen for the first time, we as a commission have had these numbers and that for a few days. So even though Amy went through it rather quickly and that, we've had a chance to review them prior to this meeting. So, all right, and Amy is checking to see if we have any public comment. Okay, so with that, under announcements, our next regular commission meeting will be Monday, January 6th, 2025. So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And I really want to thank everyone who came to our first meeting in our new commission room. So thank you for attending.